And the Washington Commanders do it again. They lose to the New York Giants 14-7. Just an absolutely pathetic performance. And we're going to talk about this coaching staff. Changes need to be made, and we'll be talking about repercussions from this loss. If you guys are new, please help a Commanders fan out. Make my day a little bit better, and just subscribe and hit that like button. It helps out a ton. The Washington Commanders fall to 3-4 on the season, and guess what? They lost to a 1-5 New York Giants team and to an 0-4 Bears team. Just absolutely pathetic. The Giants own us, man. Ever since Daniel Jones got here, they're 6-1-1 when he, or 5-1-1 when he plays, and then even without Daniel Jones, they still beat us with a bad team. They had no offensive touchdowns in the first half this season at all. Guess what? They get 2 against us. The defense, though, wasn't the problem today. I mean, you give up 14 points, you should win like 8 out of 10 games giving up 14 points, maybe even more. So obviously the defense was very underwhelming in the first half, but they showed out in the second half, played well, got stops. This is all about the offense because they scored 7 points, but let's keep it real. They really didn't score anything because the one touchdown they did score, it was gift wrapped to them because the punt returner, Sterling Shepard, muffed the punt and they got it at the 20. So, they just had to get 20 yards there. But just this offense, man, like Eric Bieniemy, it's time we have a conversation about him. I was excited about him this offseason and everything we were hearing in the offseason with him and, everything he was bringing to this team, the culture and everything like that. But it's been very disappointing this year. I mean, actually, the thing with Bieniemy, he'll have one good week, then one bad week, good week, bad week, and some performances like this are just inexcusable. And the sacks, I think, we have to start having a conversation. The sacks might be more on Bieniemy than they are the offensive line and Hal. I mean, obviously, a lot of them are on Hal and, on Hal and the offensive line. But a lot of the times, Bieniemy's just calling the same thing every time. Just drop back, drop back, drop back, drop back. And it's obvious that the Giants were getting pressure to us. We weren't able to block them, and he wasn't helping with running backs, and the protection was the same thing every time. And when he did roll out Sam to the left or to the right, it worked. It wasn't, amazing, but they would get 6-7 yards, and that's better than losing 6-7 yards every play. There was a point where Sam Howell had 5 completions, and he got sacked 6 times. That cannot happen, guys. Like, Sam is not, he's not perfect, and he definitely is partially to blame for those, for some of those sacks and for some of those bad throws. But like, Bieniemy has to do a better job of putting him in situations to succeed. You can start off dropping back a ton, and if it's working, keep going for it. But it was clear it wasn't working. He kept doing the same thing over and over and over again, and we kept getting sacked. And then he finally started to adjust a little bit, but it was too late. Like, you can't make these adjustments in the third, fourth quarter. Ideally, you prep up and you're good from the beginning. But if you're going to make adjustments, make them early. Let's talk about the end of the game. They got they got lucky, Saquon Barkley fumbled. Huge play by John Ridgeway. Deron Payne recovers the fumble. And they had a nice drive there. They had a really nice drive, convert a 4th down. I don't know did they convert a 3rd down that game? They were like 1 for 12 if they did. Just absolutely pathetic. And I'm going to say pathetic a lot, sorry. And at the end there, 4th and 5, Bieniemy draws up a good play. Jahan Dotson's open, and Sam Howell scrambles. He rolls out to his left. It was a really tough throw for him to make, even though, Dotson was open. He makes it wasn't a great throw. It wasn't a great throw, but it hit Jahan's both of his hands, and it wasn't super behind him. It was a little bit behind him. Jahan has to catch that. For a guy that everyone's talking about, he has amazing hands. He has the, best hands in the class. He catches it so cleanly. Well, this guy, and I talked about it last year, and people were hating on me for it. He made bad drops last year, and maybe some that didn't count on the stat sheet, but he should have made the catch. And then this year, the Eagles game, bad drop. Falcons game, bad drop. And then, guess what? A bad drop in this Giants game, because he catches that. He might not score, but he's down at like the 2 or 1 yard line, and we punch it in, and the Giants actually, if he didn't score, would have been better for them, because then they waste some clock, and maybe the Giants get it back with 20 seconds left, and we go to overtime, or I don't know what Rivera would have done. Maybe he goes for 2 or whatever, but you cannot drop that man. Like, I don't care how behind it was. Even if it was more behind than it actually was, you still got to make that catch. It wasn't, it was a catch that you got to make if you're an undrafted free agent. But if you're a first rounder, not making that, it's sad, man. It's really sad. Terry came to play today, 6 catches, 90 yards, made a bunch of tough catches, got hit in the head on one, and that was, an extra 15 yards that he got us. Terry McLaurin came to play. Logan Thomas made some good plays as well. Curtis Samuel made some tough catches. Byron Pringle made a nice catch. The receivers weren't bad except for that. And Jahan was playing solid throughout the game until that drop. That was really bad. Run game was not good. Chris Rodriguez was the only one that really got it going. He averaged 4.4 yards a carry. Brian Robinson was not efficient today. He did get a touchdown, which was huge. And Sam Howell had a couple rushes for 15 yards. And Gibson had 7 yards. Howell was not great today. He had some moments, but took a couple sacks he shouldn't have. The offensive line was also was not good, and Bieniemy was not putting him in position to succeed. The interception was really bad. It was really bad because unless it got tipped, and a lot of people said it didn't get tipped. I mean, Jahan Dotson was wide open. So not only would you have gotten 30, 40 plus yards, but it ends up being a pick. Just way, underthrew him. He also got lucky on a Kayvon Thibodeau one that should have been a pick 6. Like, the Commanders got outplayed in this game by a lot. They got lucky that it was this close, and they still had a chance to win this game. I'll talk about the defense real quick. Were they great? No. In the first half, they were bad. But second half, they were great. And they did enough for us to win this game. Again, you would like them to play a little bit better against a really bad Giants offense with a bunch of guys out. But they did what they needed to do. 14 points, and they had some injuries too. Cody Barton was out. The defensive line early on was frustrating me. They weren't getting enough pressure, but Chase Young came to play today. 2 sacks, 3 tackles for a loss, 2 QB hits. Also had another sack that got called back because of Jamin Davis penalty. Jamin Davis did not play well today, in my opinion. Let's see. Khalid Hudson had a nice sack. He had some nice plays. He also got beat a couple of times, but if Saquon's on you, it's kind of hard for you to cover Saquon. And then let's see. Montez Sweat had a sack, tackle for loss, and QB hit as well. I'm trying to think of other guys. Jamin Davis got, I think the first touchdown was on him. He was covering Waller. That's a tough assignment, but still would like him to play a little bit better. Quan Martin had some nice plays, and he was playing a lot early on, then got hurt, but I saw him back there, so I don't know why they didn't play him a little bit more. Forbes didn't play much, saw him a few snaps out there. Would have liked, again, a little bit better game from the interior defensive line, like Daron Payne, Jonathan Allen. Let's make some more plays. 0 QB hits, 1 tackle for loss for each of them. But they didn't get much pressure, and they're going up against scrubs, guys. The Giants' offensive line was practice squad guys for the most part. So, yes, the Commanders had 4 sacks. I still would have liked a better game from them, but again, this defense is far from the reason we lost this game. Tress Way, shout out Tress Way. 10 punts for 513 yards. Averaged 51 yards a punt. Had a good game. Joey Sly missed a kick. Got blocked. Don't know who that's on. Probably a little bit of Sly, but whoever was blocking up there. Crowder, I thought, had a good day. Hung in there. Had some good kick returns. And Byron Pringle had a heck of a kick return as well. 38-yard kick return. Put us in a good spot. But man, this sucks. Rivera, there was so many times I was frustrated with him. I don't even know where to begin with him. There was one time where it was 3rd and 5, and real quick, I forget. There's so many things to say, but Charles Leno, 2 false starts. Andrew Wiley, a false start, and unnecessary roughness. What are you doing? Andrew Wiley, get him off my team. I know. They're not going to do it, but I would not mind if they cut him. They have a lot of money tied up to him, but Andrew Wiley is awful. He is awful. Bench him. He sucks. There's I don't like to say this about players, just be upfront about it and say, they suck because these are professional athletes, but Andrew Wiley is awful. Gives up sacks, false starts, penalties all the time. Charles Leno, man, 2 false starts. We cannot have that. His pass blocking wasn't terrible, but you cannot have those false starts. And then I'm trying to think. There was one time it was 3rd and 5, and then it's a delay of game. It's like 7 minutes left in the second quarter. Rivera, we got 3 timeouts. Enron does not call a timeout. It's a 3rd and 5. It's a crucial situation. 3rd and 5 and 3rd and 10 is a big difference. And guess what? He lets his quarterback take the delay of game. Like Rivera, Bieniemy, they're not helping out their young quarterback. Whether it's the situational awareness by Rivera to not call a timeout there, some of the other timeouts and challenges he makes, and then again, Bieniemy dropping him back all these times, and the protections not making adjustments there. Like Bieniemy, I don't want anyone to talk about him being a head coach. I was optimistic about Bieniemy. I never talked about him being a head coach. I never thought that was really a possibility unless he really went off. And if he did, it wouldn't be here that he was a head coach. He would go somewhere else. But we don't have to talk about that. It'll be interesting to see how Josh Harris, Magic Johnson, Mitchell Rales, forgetting one other guy, Mark, whatever his name is. It'll be interesting to see how they react to this. I mean, this is a terrible loss. And I don't know, maybe they'll be sellers at the deadline. Guys like, they said there's rumors they would field potential offers for Chase Young and Montez Sweat. Maybe they do that. But man, it just sucks. Shout out John Ridgway for a forced fumble. Benjamin St. Juste was, he made some plays. He also was getting cooked a little bit by Jalen Hyatt. I mean, let's see. Darren Waller went off and Hyatt. Those are really the only guys. But it sucks, man. Like, you had a chance here where you win this game and you're in a solid spot. You have a chance to beat the Eagles, and then you play the Patriots. But, man, now you're 3-4. And they might go on a win streak, guys, at some point. But I really hope they don't, because unless it leads to something. If it leads to something, that's great. But most of the time, Rivera, they'll have an underwhelming start to the season. Middle of the season, they'll come back, win a few games, and then they'll go back and lose games and maybe win a game at the end of the year, and they end up they end up with 7 or 8 wins every single year and get a mid-draft pick. Would not mind for them to sell some guys if they really want to. Wouldn't mind Rivera getting fired. I mean, he is not the answer, guys. And I mean, I don't know if there's an answer on the team, honestly, but I just don't want to see Rivera. I really don't. He's not a good head coach. I mean, he can motivate his guys sometimes, but even that, man, he's not doing well. And the refs weren't great. Like, I didn't really agree with that intentional grounding call. Like, I think it was pretty obvious how was throwing it to Robinson. They called that. They didn't really call many penalties on the Giants. It is what it is, man. Not blaming the refs for this game. I mean, we just sucked today. We just sucked, and it starts with the offense and Eric Bieniemy. And, Howe wasn't great either, man. Howe wasn't great either. Jahan Dotson with a crucial drop. Like, we didn't lose the game just because of Jahan Dotson. That was a bad drop, but there were other reasons. But that doesn't mean we can't get on him, because that was a really bad drop. So if I had to say, give the blame game a little bit on the offensive side of the ball, it's Bieniemy, offensive line, a little bit of Jahan, a little bit of Sam Howell as well, man. They got to be better, and Bieniemy has to do a better job of putting Sam Howell in, good situations, because Sam Howell does take a lot of sacks, but the amount he's taking, there's got to be something else to it, and the amount of times where there's just a free runner or 2 free runners coming and no one is, putting a hand on them, and they just get to Sam Howell right away. Like, that is not on him. Bieniemy needs to help him out with those protections or call different plays. I'm really frustrated with Eric Bieniemy. This week, we'll have videos on that. We'll have videos on Eric Bieniemy's, Ron Rivera. It sucks, man. It is what it is. Hope you guys enjoyed, and thanks for watching, and peace.